Hi! This is going to feel really strange because I've never done anything like this before, but if you're seeing this, you know that my name is Alexandra, but I'm going to tell you anyway. My name is Alexandra, and I'm making this video because something has been happening to me for exactly a month now, and it's kind of complicated to explain, so I'm just going to explain it once for hopefully a lot of people to see at one time and for everybody to understand instead of having to tell the same story over and over again. But before I go into that, I just want to start out by saying that the reason I'm making this video is primarily because I want God to be glorified, and I say that in such a way that makes it seem like I have the power to do that, but the thing is, like, God will be glorified no matter what. So, that being said, I'm going to start the story about what's happening with me. I guess you could say the hand thing. So, exactly 1 month ago, I believe April 12th, I think it's April 12th. It was 4 Tuesdays ago. I woke up at about 6:30 to go to yoga with my friend Molly. So I went to the gym with her and I got started doing the yoga. And if you know anything about yoga, it was just the beginning. So we were doing downward dog, which is basically like a little table position where you have your body in a V. And it was just at the beginning of yoga. So nothing strenuous had been happening. No weird like moves or anything. Also, I'm not terribly awful at it, so not so hard for me to do. And as I was doing it, I noticed this weird sensation that happened in my right arm that kind of just went all throughout, and I noticed that my hands weren't working like as well as I didn't recognize that there was anything wrong, but it was difficult for me to do things. And I couldn't do Warrior 2, which was simply just holding both of my arms out because my right arm was so weak that I couldn't hold it up. And I was like, what the heck's going on? But I figured it would just go away because that's always been my philosophy when it comes to health or body things, ailments, or anything. If anything's wrong, just ignore it till it goes away. And for almost 21 years, that mentality has pretty much worked. So that's what I figured. At the end of the hour, I talked to the instructor of yoga and I told her what was happening. And she just said that it probably wasn't a big deal and that maybe it was a pinched nerve or something. So I was like, okay. And I figured, again, ignore it till it goes away. So I left the gym and I waited for an hour for my friend Bethany to show up because we were going to go running. And I was doing some research for gear, hiking gear on my laptop. And I started noticing that my hands weren't typing. And I was like, what the heck? Why can't I type? And it was really weird. But I just thought it was no big deal. And my friend Bethany showed up an hour later. So this is like almost 9 o'clock in the morning. And as I tried to greet her, I was going to do a peace sign. But I used my left hand. And I noticed that I couldn't do a peace sign. And I was like, really strange, like, why can't I do a peace sign? And I was like, that's weird. And I forgot to mention, right afterwards, my friend Molly had prayed for me because I told her what was happening and I wasn't sure if it was a big deal, but I told her it might be spiritual warfare, and she's like, that's what I was thinking. So she prayed for me. Then I waited for Bethany to show up. Then we went to the treadmills and we ran, and I ran for about 15 minutes, which I also run all the time. If you know me, I'll run like 5 miles and it's no big deal. But my knee started hurting so bad that I had to stop and I was limping, which I was like, okay, my hands aren't working, I can't run anymore, what the heck? So I waited for her to finish running, and then we went to the locker room, and I I started to notice more and more things were like happening funny. Like I couldn't do this I couldn't like move my right arm the way I wanted to. It was feeling kind of numb, that this hand was not doing things I was trying to do. And I was telling my friend Bethany about it, and she said, you know what, while I shower, just talk to my mom on the phone because she's a physical therapist and she might know what to do. And I was just like, oh, it's probably not that big of a deal. But then I went to fix my ponytail, and I went over to the mirror to put my hair down and like tie it up, and that kind of like I broke at that moment because as I tried to put the ponytail holder on my hair, I wasn't able to, because once I have my hand like that, I can't open it, so I couldn't tie the ponytail, and I just kind of broke down. I was like, I can't put my hair in a ponytail. And she just tried to calm me down and did it for me, but that was very overwhelming. Like, didn't know anything was wrong, and then suddenly I can't put my hair in a ponytail, and I was like, what the heck? And talking about it can be hard too, just because I'm like reliving it as I'm telling it. But I ended up calling her mom on the phone, and she started asking me a bunch of questions. Shout out to Julie McDonald, you're awesome. And she started asking me a bunch of questions about symptoms, and I realized that I think she was asking me things that would have been symptomatic of a stroke, which I don't think I had, and I don't think she thought I had either. And so I was just like, I don't know. And she's like, you really need to go see someone. And she said, go to the ER because they can't refuse you. And I was like, okay. And then she was like, find a ride. And I was like, okay. And honestly, I probably would not have gone. But Bethany, her daughter, offered to take me. And they did a CAT scan of my neck, and they did an x-ray of my knee, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong, so they prescribed me some medication and basically sent me on my way. I woke up the next morning and it was still there, which was a bummer because I was really hoping like maybe I would just wake up and it would be gone, but it wasn't gone. On Wednesday, I went to my rehearsal for Wind Symphony, and that was the day after all this had happened, and I was already a little bit worried that it would not work, me playing my instrument. But I went to rehearsal anyway, because that's what you do. You go to rehearsal when you're part of an ensemble. And I sat down and I was trying to put my reed on my instrument, and I couldn't quite do that. And I was trying to put my instrument together, and I couldn't quite do that because if I haven't described this at this point, my right arm kind of feels like half numb all the time and is incredibly weak. I mean, weak to the point where I can't push down on soap nozzles and actually press down all the way unless I put my body strength into it. And this hand is kind of stiff and partially numb, and this hand just simply will not open. And if I straighten out my wrist, if I put it down, I can open it to some degree. As soon as I start to straighten out my wrist, my fingers just go limp, and the more I raise my wrist, the more limp my fingers get. So I was already worried that I wouldn't be able to play my instrument, and sure enough, I succeed in putting my instrument together, and I try to warm up, and my fingers just can't do it. I just can't play the notes, and that was probably one of the worst things, because I had to sit there and realize that I couldn't do it, and my dad was going to be flying in the next week to see my concert. And I couldn't play my instrument, and I broke down in the middle of rehearsal. I don't like crying in front of people. I mean, who does, to be honest? But I was so overwhelmed. And then at that moment, in front of all these people, I couldn't play my instrument, and it all just hit me like a big storm. Like, what is going on? Why don't my hands work? What is happening to me? I'm so physically active. I run miles and miles for fun. I climb all the time. I eat pesticide and hormone-free fruits and vegetables. I don't eat meat. I eat cleaner than most people I know. I eat cleaner than anyone I know. And then there's something wrong with me for no reason. Like, what the heck? How's that okay? How's that fair? And all of that hit me at once, and I had a breakdown, and it was really embarrassing. And I talked to Dr. Kerr and told him what was happening. He's the professor of the Wind Symphony, the conductor. And I told him what was happening, and he was very understanding and just told me to keep him posted. And so Friday, I walked into rehearsal, and there was a campus pastor. Dr. Kerr had called a campus pastor there to talk to me, which, again, then I'm dealing with all these weird insecurities, like, okay, I don't want to be the girl who needs someone to come to talk to. It's like if you're in elementary school and you get called to go to the counselor's office. You don't want to be that kid, because then you look like you're the kid with all the problems. And, oh, great, the campus pastor's like, why, now I'm going to look like everyone's like, oh, she was crying, something's wrong with her, we got to be nice to her. Everyone's going to ask her, what's going on, are you okay? But this campus pastor gave me some tips, some guidance, and one of the main things was that she wanted me to tell my church what was going on, and my roommate had also insisted that I tell my church, and so I determined that I would. It was hard to tell them, and my church gathering, we're called Ecclesia, we meet at a house. They probably don't really believe it, but it is very hard for me to talk about things that are happening in my life because it's not my inclination to just share. It just isn't. And so when I do, it's always me going out of my comfort zone, but I do it because I think it honors God. So that was one of the reasons why I told them, because I think God wanted me to tell them, because we are the church and we're supposed to encourage each other and pray for each other and love each other. And so if I didn't tell them, how could they encourage me? So I did tell them, and they did encourage me. I told them, this is why I'm doing this, because I could use some help. I need prayer. The Bible says that the prayer of a righteous man availeth much, so I could use a lot of prayer because I want this to go away. And I also needed a ride to the chiropractor on Tuesday. So I told them also about the prescriptions, but that I hadn't gotten them. And so they all prayed for me. And after we finished gathering, we eat breakfast together, pray, maybe sing songs, and then we'll read through a passage together and discuss it. And afterwards, a couple from my church, Laura and Scott Southard, came up to me, and they said to me, listen, just so you know, we're going to buy your prescription. So whatever it is, just come with us and we're going to pay for it. And of course I had like a little mini breakdown again, because even though I hate crying, it seems like I do it all the time. And I was very touched and overwhelmed by the kindness and the love that they had shown me in that moment, that they were going to go take me to get that medicine. Tuesday comes along and I'm scheduled for a chiropractor appointment. Who knows how I'm going to pay for that at this point, I was thinking, because I didn't know the first thing about insurance or about co-payments and all those things. And I can't tell you I still quite understand all of it. But I was scheduled for a chiropractor appointment with a guy named Dr. Palmer. So when I told my church on Sunday, my friends Zach and Rebecca told me they could drive me to the chiropractor. So on Tuesday, Rebecca picked me up and drove me to the chiropractor, and I went to the office on Tuesday, and I was very overwhelmed, because just being in a doctor's office, especially when you're not used to it, is like, it's just a constant reminder, something's wrong with me, something's wrong with me. So finally I filled out the sheet and I got to see the chiropractor, and we had our evaluation, and he didn't know what was wrong with me, and he knew that money was an issue. So he said, what I recommend for you is the most cost-effective thing to do and efficient thing to do for you would be to get blood work done, and hopefully this is just a deficiency, and if not, you're going to need to see a neurologist. And he just told me to breathe, because in the midst of all those things, even while telling this story, it can be overwhelming, because what is going on? I don't know. Still don't know. It's been a month and I still don't know. I was supposed to get blood work the next day, and I didn't, because I woke up late. But the next day, it was a Thursday, and I did go get the blood work done, and I hate needles, so it was really awful, but they did it. They got all the blood work, and they were telling me that hopefully I would get the results before the weekend. And so Monday morning came, and I called Centra to see if they had the results, because I hadn't heard from them yet, and they said, oh, we called and left a voicemail. I was like, what? I never got that. But now thinking, I don't have voicemail set up, so that's why I didn't get the voicemail, because there's no voicemail. So anyway, turns out, and this was really, it was really hard for me to hear, but there were no results that were telling that would result in me having issues because of a deficiency. The only thing I had was a slight vitamin D deficiency, which I do know now is characteristic of people with multiple sclerosis. Doesn't mean I have multiple sclerosis. Doesn't mean I don't. But it was nothing that would mean that it's as simple as a vitamin deficiency. It's something else. And that was really disheartening, because I was really hoping it was just an easy fix. But at this point, ER, chiropractor, and blood work did not reveal anything. So the next step was a neurologist. And I told my dad, and he said to me, well, did you find any neurologists in Lynchburg? And I was like, I already heard that appointments take over a month in advance to make, and they're very hard to find. So I, as hard as it is to type, I'm not really going to take the time to go look through all these names. And he's like, okay, I'm going to find one for you. I was like, okay, thank you. Thursday rolls around, my dad gets in for the concert. I sit through the concert, play the best to my ability, and the next day, I went to the neurologist, and the neurologist couldn't quite figure out what was going on, so I was scheduled for MRIs 2 weeks from that appointment. So that's 2 weeks, again, of dealing with the hands and everything. But he called me the next couple of days and told me, hey, I found out that the insurance does not cover your MRIs in Lynchburg at all, so you're going to have to fly to Miami to get the MRIs done. And I was like, what? I really don't want to do that. But I am flying to Miami to get the MRIs done. I'm flying tomorrow. I get back the 16th, and I'm going to be getting a brain and neck MRI to hopefully give us some answers about what's going on. And since then, I've just been living with this thing that's happening in my hands and in my arm. It's hard to do a lot of things. That's true. I can't open water bottles. I can't do it. It's very hard to use my right arm since it's basically strengthless. My hands are pretty ineffective. I can't play my instrument anymore, which is a big bummer. And there's a lot of things that I can't do. But throughout this process of dealing with this for the past month, I can't say I've been necessarily reminded of everything that I can do, although there are things I can do. I've been reminded of how desperate I am for God to sustain me emotionally, spiritually, which are things that I should constantly be aware of. But now, I have had a newfound dependency on God like none other. I've always been physically active. I've always been relatively healthy. I'm like the healthiest I've ever been, the fittest I've ever been. Physical lack of independence has not been something I've ever dealt with. And as independent as I am, it has sucked. I feel so pitiful and pathetic, and I hate it. I hate needing help. I hate having to pass people the water bottle for them to open it for me. I hate that I can't grasp things. I hate that I can't do peace signs. I really hate it. But it has forced me to accept that I need help with things. And it has forced me to accept help from people, to accept love from people in the form of help. And it has forced me to have to be kind of dependent in a lot of ways. Physically is one of them. But even financially, just wondering, how am I going to do this? How am I going to, if I can't have a job, how am I going to pay bills? How am I going to be a student if I can't have a job to pay for the bills to be a student, and at the same time I can't even write or type? How am I going to be a student? And there are a lot of unknowns. There are a lot of questions. And throughout it all, the truth is my faith has grown. Truly, because I feel kind of like I have nothing. I've been asking God, like it says in Psalm 51, restore to me the joy of my salvation. I kind of feel like God has done that for me. And I'm so happy, and I wouldn't change anything for that. Yeah, I really hope that my hands get healed, and I really hope that it goes away. And on Thursday at 4:30, if you want to be praying for me, I'm going to have a brain and neck MRI. And who knows what we're going to find out. But I know that God is in control. And I was looking out the window today on the bus, and I was looking at the grass, and even though the clouds were gloomy, I just felt peace. And I realized, man, God is in control of everything, of my life, of this world, of the salvation of people, of my family, of brokenness, and of joy, of everything. God is in control of everything. And I can just exhale in that moment and be at peace because I really believe that. And because He has drawn me to Him, and I have chosen to receive Him and receive salvation, I get to live knowing that God is in control. And I just get to exist. And because I know that He's in control, I get to be at peace if I choose to live in it. And I trust God, and I get to trust Him. And so I make this video because this way I don't have to tell everyone and their mother what's going on with my hands and my arm, because it is overwhelming to talk about and to tell that whole story to every single person who asks, and feel like I'm doing justice and saying accurately what's happening, but also answering a person's question and not being like, you don't really care, so I'm not going to take the time to tell you what's going on. This way, whoever watches this video knows what's going on. I also tell you guys this because if you are someone who believes in Jesus, and you have received salvation, then the Bible says that you're a saint and that you are counted as righteous and that you are blameless and pure. And so I believe that the God and creator of this universe, He hears your prayers. And the Bible says that the prayer of a righteous man availeth much. So I would like every single person who watches this video to say a prayer, intercede on my behalf to God, tell Him that you want Him to heal me. If you do, I would like for you to want Him to heal me. And other than that, that is the main source of help that I would appreciate the most. As of right now, I have been blessed with the opportunity to have a Mary Kay business. And I started doing that because I wanted to use that as an opportunity to minister to women who weren't followers of Christ. I was like, I could not care less if someone buys makeup or skincare products from me. But now it seems like the door has been opened for me to really benefit from the financial benefits of having a business like this. And so I know not everyone wants to buy makeup or skincare products, but if you would like to buy some from me, I sell them. And if you wouldn't really want to buy any, or you would like to host a party and allow me to show the products to other people who might want to buy them, that would be great, because I don't really know how I'm going to pay for life. But the thing is, regardless of what anyone else does, the same thing is true that I said a bit ago, is that I trust God and I know that He's in control. And so no matter what happens with my hands and my arm, I know I'm going to be okay, because God is taking care of me and He loves me and I love Him. And the only reason I can love Him is because He loves me. So I have no idea how long this is, but thanks for watching, and do with this video what you will, what you would like to do. I have never done anything like this, so it's kind of weird, but thank you to everyone who has encouraged me and prayed for me throughout the last month. If God is omnipresent, which he is, he's everywhere, and he can hear me right now, so even though this is a video, thank you, God, for restoring to me the joy of my salvation, and for, in a way, forcing me to receive love in a way that I don't like, but is growing me spiritually and is growing me emotionally. And I think I'm becoming more like Jesus throughout all of this, which is going to be a lifetime process, but I'm grateful for it along every step of the way, even if I don't always feel grateful. So in some weird way, I'm thankful for these messed up hands. I'm thankful for them because they can still hold this cup. Thanks, Daddy, for this cup. And you know what? They can still hold the Bible, and I can still read the Bible. And that's my sword. And so that's that. Thanks for watching this video, and that's all. Bye.